Welcome back to Old Boy TV. I'm happy, and I hope you're happy too. Let's cut straight to the chase. Like, that's the thumb button down there. Like, share if you care, share if you don't. Right, subscribe if you haven't, and ask somebody else to subscribe if you have. Right, do this, and also write some sort of stuff in the comments. Nearly no one's doing that. It really makes a big difference to the algorithm, okay? To be able to do that. He's tired. You tired? Bit yawny there, mate. Lovely day. It's a bit afternoon to be falling asleep. Right. We've only walked around the corner from part one. If you remember part one, and if you haven't, it's the video before this. Go and watch part one. We were talking at the end about how these buildings were built without heating, apart from holes in the wall where you would burn wood and it'd go up the chimney. And there are chimneys. I don't know if you look at the rooftops here. Chimneys everywhere, all in every world, in every country. Chimneys everywhere. And what we've also got here is very ornate ironwork with very specific shapes in. Yeah. And you'll find this everywhere, all over the realm, right? And it's very pretty and lovely, made by very poor people, right? And in a peasant world. And apparently everyone, you know, there were only the rich and the poor, which that may well be the case. However, you'll see that ironwork on houses that are nowhere near as big and as grand as this. You'll see, look at these, massive bay window, right? And they're back to there. So what we've got here, this could be a building that's underneath. Let's have a look at that. That could have been dug out and turned into a building, or it might just be a solid. Point being is, I feel, there are loads of videos. If you search mud flood and look at the work of people like Martin Leckie, look at the work of people like John Levi, look at the work of people like Paul Cook. Right, they're all out there and they're all talking about this all the time. You'll be able to find links to their channels below me. Right, these people are doing a load of work, so I'm not going to go. There's no point in going over everything here because their channels are very specific to this. Mine is a little bit more liberal. But what I'm suggesting is here that this has been dug out, right? That at some point, right, there was mud so deep and so thick everywhere that's why we've got all of these buildings that have got downstairs under the ground and the upstairs above. And you go, no, but that's the front door there. Well, when you get builders in now, right, so if you've got a house and you get builders in, they're builders, they're not building your house. They're doing building work in your house. Very few builders ever build a house, right, but they're still builders and they do work in the house. And quite often you'll find buildings like this, but they don't say when they were constructed or built, they say founded. I'm going to say it again. Founded, right? As in found. Just putting it out there. Look at this, all the way down. Now, this is definitely a room under there. So they've built, there's a front door underneath there. I mean, who knows? Some of this stuff may go well out into the street. But all of this is below the level of what you would imagine the sewers are in the middle of the road. So what's going on prior to JCBs, prior to any electric tools whatsoever? My granddad had, when I was younger, a toolbox, beautiful wooden toolbox. I don't know, I wish I had kept that, it's gone. And he had a drill, and the drill was like that. He had to put a drill bit in, it went like that. I mean, that's what they were, these are the tools that they had. They had shovels, picks, you know, screwdrivers, all a bit manky. If you go and look at even post-Victorian tools, they're rubbish. And apparently they built all of this with it. Well, my suggestion is all of this was already here. Look, this one's been properly dug out. Tim, you can have a proper look here. But if you stand there, you can see that that's evidently, right, that's probably what was the ground floor. So the ground has come up and that has had to be dug out. And it's not unique to this street. It's not unique to this town. It's all over the world. Some buildings you'll work in big cities, you'll find windows that, you know, that are literally on at ground level, and you look down and there's a whole room. down a massive, massive room. In some countries, they open those windows and it becomes a shop front, right? And again, in lots of places, that's the case. So let's get back to the energy. There's just over here, Tim. Look. See on the roof there? We've got that big pointy bit, and then go the other way, turn around again, and you'll find one at that end. Right now, again, over hundreds of years, lots of work would have been done to these buildings. Just seeing if they've got a date on them. They've got loads of shapes. Can you see? Can you get into those shapes at the top there? Look, literally at the top of the very ornate shape of the roof above the top rooms. Yeah. And then there's actual within there's shaping in the brickwork there on top of it, embossed shapes as well, right? And we've then got all of the brickwork in different. You can't really see it here as much, but different layers in different things. Now, what if energy came from the ether, from bells? I'll put a link to a video that will blow you away about that. I can't remember the name of the channel, but a guy that's done the most amazing work on bells recently, which after the Second World War, all over the world, bells were removed from churches or had their frequency changed. Why? Well, maybe because the resonance of the bells were nothing about bringing people to pray. It was actually to vibrate things that would have been on these pokey things. I call them pointy pointies, that are all over the world, like the pointy pointies on top of the roofs. Old school buildings. I remember my old school, Princess May in Stoke Newington. It was an old, what we refer to as Victorian, right? Huge ceilings and everything. Tiny little chairs, because we're all tiny little people. And every single one of them has got some sort of weird, and it looks like a belfry, but they're consistent over the whole realm, completely consistent, right? And if these things were actually mechanical, when I say mechanical working with the air, working with vibration, working with the moisture in the air, right? To bring energy to the buildings in a way that we have not been allowed to know about or understand, right? It seems quite evident because, oh, look at this, man. Look at this all the way down there, right? It's got that amazing side bit poking out on poles. I mean, who would build like that? No one would build like that. It just doesn't make any sense, but someone did for a certain reason. And by not, when you walk past buildings like this every day of your life and never stop to look and ask a real question, right? Let's just take only this one, this block here, right? And what are we going to say about 5-10 million bricks potentially, certainly for this whole terrace, right? I don't know, but it's going to be along those lines. At a time when there's no cars, right? There's horses and carts. So the bricks, wherever they were made, the bricks have got to come from the brick factory or from whatever. And I know that Static in the Attic, who, again, great channel, but he debates this a lot, just imagining that there are enough bricks and you can make them in the sunshine. Well, that works in Africa. It don't really work in Peckham or in Maida Vale, by the way, Mr. Static. So what you'll find is that, again, if we go along with the narrative, this would have been mudded streets and roads, that horses and donkeys with carts with wheels no thicker than that go sink down, apparently are carrying bricks to come here and build that. Come on. How much hay would the horses need? How much water would they need? How would they do it? Even today, when there's a big construction site, the pre-planning of knocking down and levelling sites and getting the giant trucks with JCBs to be filled, moved and transported away is huge, right? And it takes a year or more to do that. And that's before they've started building anything. Most of the buildings, I'll look up, I don't know if I'll find it, but if you don't hear anything in this video post the shooting about dates and stuff, it means I couldn't find them. I'll try and find some history of these buildings here and find out when they were supposedly built, because they would have been built at a time where the infrastructure for actually just getting the stuff here on its own wasn't actually possible by logic. Stop looking up. Do not do your own research, right? Because what you're reading, you're trusting as if it's verbatim and real. Oh, where did you find out that? Well, it was on Google. Yeah, very trustworthy. Oh, it was on the BBC. Even more trustworthy. And I used to go down that road as well. Look at this. Right, so this has had it all dug out. That's had it all dug out. And I do feel that they are You know, it's a dig out. It really is a dig out. And these buildings, I mean, my God, they're majestic, absolutely majestic compared to anything that has been built anywhere on this realm in my living memory. Right, everything, even the giant buildings, the Burj Khalifa or the what they call the one here, the Shard, right? It's Meccano. It's bits of steel built up that like a kid using Meccano with stuff stuck on the outside. Obviously a little bit more complicated than that, but that's realistically the reality of it. So nothing of the absolute grandeur and beauty of these buildings, and these buildings exist in every country on earth. Just use your eyes. How are you, man? Look, he lives here. He lives here.
Just curious.
Yeah, well, I'm doing a whole thing about. It's a YouTube channel called Old Boy TV.
Nice to meet you, old boy.
Yeah, I'm an old boy, because old and wise,
Yeah.
but equally a little bit of a rascal and a bit of a boy.
You.
These buildings are absolutely spectacular. Do you know when it was built, roughly?
I think
It's going to say on top somewhere, isn't it? They always do.
1800s.
All right, so now let's say that. Let's give it 1800 or 1850. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now let's put our minds to what life was like. No JCBs, no power tools, no Makita, no Black & Decker, right?
Yeah.
So hand drills. The scaff, if it exists, is wooden rather than metal because there's no factories to make all of that. This road wouldn't be a road; it'd be glass based. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just pretend just your building. How are you going to get the bricks in, let alone anything else? Right? How in a transit van, a brand new transit van, you get 1 ton of bricks. You put 2 in, it's grounded and you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
These are horses and carts and donkeys that also need tons of hay and water all over the country, all over London and all over the world, with all of the buildings built at the same time, right?
Yeah.
But there's no sign of construction. If you read anything about that time, no one talks about construction. You talk about you'll find in journals and diarists will talk about the poverty and the abject horror of living in that time. But they never talk that every other person should be a builder that can knock up a gargoyle in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's not.
100%.
So my feeling is that these were here before, a long time before. Because if you look at pictures that exist of 1850s to 1900s, I'm going to see if I can find one of this street, I probably will. You'll find that these buildings are already here and they're already old, often derelict.
There's maps of here, it was a wood before.
But again, we have the narrative must be given, right? And unless I see genuine evidence of it, I can't necessarily go with it. I'm told all sorts of things now that I know not to be true now. But the populace really takes it all as true because it was on telly or on Google.
That's understandable, but they have dated back to the maps which I've got from the freehold.
Have you?
Which are from the London.
Now, when you say, are they plans of the building?
They're plans, they're drawings which get submitted to.
I bet you they're floor plans.
No,
just a straight.
All the building plans.
But with structural numbers as well.
Most of them, yeah.
Really?
All of those are with the Royal Institute of
Architecture.
Yeah. Which is based in the centre of London.
Which I trust about as much as I trust a burglar to not rob my house when I've invited him in for dinner. Right?
I mean, that's neither here nor there.
No.
But anyway, listen, mate, I have to love and leave you.
Well, look,
it was very nice.
Very lovely place that you live in, and I'm glad it's a show.
Thank you very much. Take it easy.
Old Boy TV, right? Have a look for us. There's a few. Thank you very much. Bellafroid. It's got holes in it, but I can't get rid of it. I love it. All right. Take care, man. It's interesting, isn't it? I'm not. You know, he said that he's got all of these details. I'm going to debate it all. I'll tell you for why. You can go and see the plan for places like St Paul's. I've got a friend that literally has a castle that is built by Nash. I've seen the plans. All you get is floor plans. Right? Again, if you don't question it, and I didn't when I first saw this stuff, if you don't question it, right, you're never going to be able to reason it for yourself. A floor plan for anything I can make now. I can do floor plans for these buildings, and if I do it on old paper, right, then how are you going to know the difference? But all that is measuring the floors and the angles and showing something that's already there, not something that's going to be there. If you actually have a building built from scratch, you've got the quantity surveyors, what stuff you've got, where it's going to come from. You've got all of the structural plans about load bearing and stuff like that. You can't just build something and it'll be all right. Everybody knows that. And these are built at a level, with a level of skill. And people go, oh, we've forgotten all those skills. What, in 150 years? What? I mean, I know overbearingly the populace is fundamentally stupid. I hate saying it, but it's true, right? And like goldfish, like, you know, oh, has that happened? And it works on everybody. I'm talking for myself as well. You know, a building will be knocked down and something new is built. Try and remember what was there 2 years, 3 years after. It's very hard to actually remember. Anyway, the point I'm making is there's a lot more questioning to be done. Look, just as I'm saying, look at this ornate. I mean, we might go, that's just for the pretty, that railing in front of the window, but you'll find that they're all over the world. A lot of them were removed during wars, and the story was to melt down to make guns, right? If maybe the story was we're taking away the stuff that actually powered these buildings, because I'm going to repeat what I said in the first film. If you can build this, you're not going to walk away with it not being able to be heated. If you can build this, you've probably got stuff like worldwide communication. If you can build this, and this is also existing in other countries, and a great example of that is what we refer to as churches and cathedrals, you'll see exactly the same giant things all over the world. In the middle of nowhere in Africa, you'll find a giant church cathedral. I wonder how that got there. Oh, it's the missionaries. Because the missionaries are all architects, right, with local labour, and they all know how to get all of this stuff. And they've got organs in. Now, the organs, there are very few people alive in the world right now that can actually work and properly repair the big church organs, because they're far too complex for everybody. And, you know, but they're in these churches and cathedrals all over the realm. And one's meant to accept that they were built for people to come and sing, you know, joy to the world or whatever. No, come on. Use rationale. Don't do your own research. Trust your gut. Ask reasonable questions that you can then reason for yourself. And you say, oh no, I looked up, it said that. And trusting it, we all know what happens when you, during the, whatever people refer to it, scammer-babba-babba-demic, right? I'm not going to use the words because otherwise YouTube put up a little thing below the film. But I'd say to people during that, is there any example of you ever having trusting a politician or trusting them right now? And they go, well, no. So what are you doing? What on earth are you doing? Putting your trust in that. So just to end it here, these buildings are remarkable. They're easy to find because they're everywhere. They're easy to not take any notice of because you're rushing to get to work or go wherever, and they've always been there all your life. So why would you stop and look at them in depth? Since I've had these questions in my mind, and since I've stopped going along with the narrative that I've been given and taught and indoctrinated with since childhood, since I've started to ask questions, every street becomes more magical. Every building becomes something of interest rather than, oh, it's just a house. Just. Look at these. There's nothing just about these. One last thing, right? We've all been taught, and I figured it was a UK thing alone, right? We've all been taught about window taxes, right? That there were at one point, I've just paused it because I'm going to look at it. It's out there. But that pokey thing, that's when you see windows blocked in, they're very often at the very corner of the buildings, and they're very often on a little room like that. See, that room's like hexagonal, completely useless for putting furniture in. You could say it was for one of the servants' rooms or the little Timmy, you know, when he's a baby and the crib and everything. But you don't build like that unless it's got a purpose. You don't build round, and you'll see round windows. It's so often in all of these buildings across. It's not straightforward to do. It's a plan to build a round window. It's much tougher than just building a square one or an oblong one. So why would they do it? Was it just for the pretty, or were they practical and purposeful? Are they portholes, or are they portals? On that bombshell, and I'm leaving you with food. I'm not telling you anything because I don't know. That's the key to Old Boy TV. I don't know, and that comes from Lao Tzu, which Lao Tzu translates as old boy, who potentially, maybe, but no one really knows, wrote the Tao Te Ching, the most fantastic book for a way to live that exists. I'll stick a link to a brilliant version here. It takes an hour and a half to listen to again and again and again. It doesn't tell you what to do. it gives you an idea of the best way to be, right? So Lao Tzu say, he who knows nothing. He who knows nothing knows. But that doesn't mean that he who knows nothing is some idiot that goes, oh, I don't know, what's on the football? Who scored? Oh, no. In order to genuinely not know and say I don't know, you need to have looked everywhere first for the answer. Pretty much you always come back to I don't know. So I don't know. All that's happening here on these films is I'm trying to equip you with a different way of seeing and asking questions. And then do all the research you want, but don't trust any of it, right? Really don't trust any of it. So I'm happy. I hope you're happy too. Thank you, right, for watching Old Boy TV. I'm going to say it again as I did at the beginning. Please like it. Please share it. Subscribe if you haven't. And write something for the love of God, especially family and friends, right? Come on, just even if it's random letters, put something in the comment box. I'd really appreciate it. So, Old Boy TV saying to you, you'll see me soon.